What's up, guys? Welcome to the first official episode of Off Meta Mondays. We're gonna jump into some gameplay in a second. I decided to test out an old favorite for the first episode. We got the Thriller Bark Slop, trying out 3-cost Bonnie, just a little bit of card cycle, maybe another way to get Thriller Bark cards in the trash. But let's get into game one. Well, it looks like we're going to play into Green Yellow Yamato for game one. We have the option to decide on starting order. We do choose second here as we're trying to find more 2k counters. We mulligan out of a kind of not great hand. It's fine. The issue is a heavy lack of counter. We do technically find a hand that's more suited to defending against early game swings, but I don't have a 4-cost play. That's a little troublesome. Their 1 Dawn turn is about to happen. I'm considering they probably play a Yamato, but they surprise me and play the 1-cost Rest Momonosuke Searcher. I'm not really concerned about it, especially with the Zeus in hand. Seeing as we have like a duplicate of the Kid, and we have the 0-cost, and we have the Basil and the Beji, I am heavily considering KOing the Momonosuke just so they can't get the value early game. We get pretty lucky and we draw into another Zeus off of life though. Another thing to consider, or that I considered on KOing the Momonosuke with the Zeus and not letting him get the extra card, the longer that they have the Momonosuke on field, the more advantage that they're going to generate searching from their deck. So if we don't remove it before they use it, they get 1 card back, but then every turn we don't remove it after that, they're obviously I'm just cycling back what advantage is here, but it also becomes a pseudo blocker because we have to swing into it if we don't have a small enough body that we would otherwise have to attach Dawn to swing lead, which we wouldn't have. We don't play much under 4 Dawn in this deck. So we're passing back to them, their 3 Dawn turn. They don't have a lot to do, and I don't necessarily think this is the smartest play. I personally like to swing bigger with Banish to make it go through. We just give them another 2k here. It's not that big of a deal. We're going to throw a 5. I'm not really worried about them triggering anything. Then we just drop a Basil. I am surprised at the Momonosuke blocker that they dropped down on us. Not too worried about it though. We do see a Perona, which is pretty cool. Nico Robin, trash the Ezo. We'll swing in with the Basil. We're just really trying to either chip away at their life or get a card out of hand. It doesn't really matter. It seems like they're running a maybe brickier version of the Wano engine. We're just gonna discard the Perona here. This is mainly just to get the card into the trash in case our bottom life is a trigger for Thriller Bark. Which it was. We got pretty lucky there. So we play the Perona out, we discard for leader effect. On this discard, I almost think it was maybe correct to discard the second Perona that we had in hand instead. That way we just have another body engraved to play back out off of a trigger effect, but it's not that big of a deal, and technically it's probably correct in the sense that we're maintaining the counter in hand. We freeze the Momonosuke blocker. That's literally just so it doesn't swing us to 0 life, maintaining cards in hand, why not? Here we're trying to just chip cards out of hand. We want the block out early. They go down to 1. I know I can't finish the game out this turn, so I'm really taking my options into consideration. What I'm gonna do is play out the Zeus to pop the 5-cost blocker, and then play the Kuma afterwards to heal back to 1. That way they only have 2 swings total, or 3 swings if they were to play another Kikanojo, but they wouldn't be significant, whereas I don't want to have to deal with swinging through the blocker again on the following turn. So here we pop the Zeus. I'm kind of happy we saw into a Kikanojo off of life. I don't really love discarding good cards, or not good cards, I mean I don't love discarding counter to heal. So we're back to 1 life, which is basically 2 life, which you never know, it could be 3 life depending on what the bottom card is. They search out the starter deck Momo. Upon first glance during the game, I didn't realize that it was the starter deck Rush Momo. I thought it was the blocker Momo. So I was under the impression they were maybe going to put the Kikanojo back into life after swinging out. They do go 10 here, which is kind of a little brazen. We get super lucky with the Capone Beji trigger. This, I don't think we would have lost regardless, but this does really help seal the game in our direction. We freeze the Yamato, we discard the Perona. We're sitting in a pretty fine spot here. They Momo effect, returning 2 Dawn, and then they just swing 8. I am trying to push for lethal on the next turn though, so we will counter out of this, going to 9. Here we're just going to clear off the blocker, the searcher, doesn't really matter. Then they give us the Dead Man's Game to get out of a 7. I feel like we're good here. We probably just go 7 on 1 more attack, and then potentially 5/5 and the rest on leader. So we attach 1 to Robin to swing 7. They take, they play. Honestly, chat, I don't know why they played the Kinemon out. If we were to all in here, like mathematically we have it no matter what. We swing 5, we swing 5, they're down to 2 cards in hand. We swing 9, they can't counter out of it. But this puts them in a situation where it doesn't take much to go for lethal. They have 4 cards in hand, we have 9 Dawn active. We're just gonna put everything on Perona and swing out. Mathematically they cannot counter out to it. So that's game 1. Interesting seeing Yamato again. I think the opponent maybe didn't make all of the most optimal plays that they could. I remember back on the turn that they played the Izo out, they didn't even use leader effect to move Dawn underneath it to make it a blocker. But I'm not playing Yamato. Who am I to judge? Let's jump to game 2. Rolling into game 2, it looks like we're gonna play against Red Green Smoker. This is a matchup I have not seen in a while. We don't get to choose our starting position. Unfortunately, they do force us to go first. I think we also mulliganed a much better hand than what we have now. We're gonna make do with it. We're probably just gonna try to be aggressive with leader swings pretty early in the game, but we're gonna drop the Perona as soon as possible. It is kind of good that we have the Perona though, in case they play down the 5-cost Smoker. Here we're just gonna kill the blocker, or not the blocker, sorry, the 1-cost Searcher. I've said it a million times, I say it in almost every video. These things are annoying. They generate too much value for the decks that they're played in. You pretty much have to remove them immediately. That's why a 1 Dawn play is pretty ideal, because then you don't have to waste a leader swing. It does seem like they're playing a lot of Supernovas. We did consider swinging or dropping the Zeus to pop one of the blockers, but Smoker can kind of snowball out of control pretty quickly. I've noticed in older formats, once they get, say, a Smoker down, and then they get a Tashigi down, and then they get an 8-cost Kid down, it just really builds up quick, and we don't need to take life any faster than we're already going to. So we swing a 5, then we're just going to play a Perona so we can establish another body. I notice here that they're playing a really heavy Supernova build. I do kind of like the X Drake though, because it helps protect the 8-cost Kid from being removed from blue or yellow effects as well as red effects. This is a little bit of a weird play. I don't really have a direction that I'm moving in with this turn, and I kind of just want to draw an extra card off of life. So I'm gonna bait pop the X Drake, but X Drake can grant protection, so it's just going to give minus 2k to the leader for the turn, and I consider that like an easy enough way to just swing into the leader. It applies a little bit more pressure for 2 Dawn out of my hand. It's not something I would try in every deck, but specifically Enel, the life is kind of just a resource. We didn't draw anything super good off of the Zeus from life, unfortunately. We do play a Beji. I don't think this is even going to come up. We don't run something to put it back into life. It's really just to swing out into the Bonnie if we need another body for that. And then for the lulz, we freeze the killer. It was never going to swing anyway. This is something that I really like about Gecko Moria. You're able to add to life, or you can play it from trash. So I'm pretty good on life. We're at least 4, factoring in leader effect. So we're just going to deploy the Perona and freeze one of the X Drakes. It's a 7-cost swing I don't have to worry about now. Now I feel pretty comfortable just eating a couple because I plan to drop a 10-cost Enel on the following turn. So I countered out of the swing with the X Drake, kind of to bait them into attacking with the Law. That was my thought process on that. Pretty standard. We just have to sit through trying to KO 8-cost Kid, you know? we have to get through the Kid wall now. We do save the Enel from one swing. We're not going to save it again. They've put too much effort into reducing it. But we are good for the following turn in the sense, we're good for this turn in the sense that we're not going to die. We have enough counter to get out of stuff. I did misplay there though. I activated the effect of Perona, and I did not have a Thriller Bart card in trash. So learn from that, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that. We have to discard 1 for leader effect, so we just went -2. We could have got the Perona in trash either way. Opponent just made a crucial mistake though, using all of their Dawn after already restanding with leader effect. So they are not going to be able to use Kid effect. And I think they're just realizing that now. That is absolutely something that could turn the whole game around for us. We're gonna eat a couple cards out of their hand. And here I'm seeing how many cards they have. 8, which is kind of crazy. I'm contemplating either putting all 10 Dawn onto the Beji to swing 13, or playing the Enel to heal back up to 2, which again, considering leader effect is 3 minimum life. So we do think about it for a second. We opt to play the Enel and swing. I think it's a little bit safer of a play. Maybe. But yeah, we got it, chat. I don't know why they took the hits that they took, or why they blocked with this law when they did. They could have easily 1k countered out of the Perona hit, and then also 1k countered out of the Enel leader hit, and then blocked with the Enel 10 cost, or blocked the Enel 10 cost with the 6 cost law. So I'm very unsure why they misplayed the way that they did, but we take those W's. Let's get to game 3. Game 3, we're going to play against UP Luffy. This is probably the hardest matchup of the whole video, and one of Enel's harder matchups in general. This leader knocked me out of top 32 at my first regional. So we have a pretty solid hand, especially drawing into the Eustace Kid. That is a key card for winning this game. We do play the trigger off of the Basil Hawkins, just trying to dig a little deeper, maybe find some 2k counter. We have a bunch of 1ks. We're going to play the Kiko and pass. The plan here isn't really to be super aggressive into them. We're not necessarily stalling, or like, we're trying to burn as much as possible. We don't run the 6 cost Nico Robin, so there's not much we can do in that regard on the 6 Dawn turn. But we aren't trying to put them down to 2 when they can leave 2 Dawn up. Most lists run Thunder Bagua, and we don't really want to deal with that. Sorry, every list runs Thunder Bagua, but we don't want to deal with it. Also, I realize when they play the Sanji down on 6, they must have a very strange, or like pretty bad hand. I have never seen a blue-purple Sanji, or a blue-purple Luffy player do that before. Like, I get being defensive, but the deck doesn't really need it. Not early game, anyway. We're kind of just being liberal with taking. I don't even necessarily care if they hit us with a pudding here. I don't expect them to. I think they also activated the Grav Blade, not realizing that the Kuma had +2 to its cost. It would have been a really, really stellar play one turn later. So we're just going to drop the 8 cost Kid, swing a 7. We get a 2k, we pass. We finally have a way to just put an easy Thriller Bark character into the trash. Kinda had lacked. I don't really love giving up multiple 1k counters when I don't have to. In early game we had a lot of only 1k counters. Mihawk unfortunately removes the Kuma, but off of life we do see another 8 cost Kid, which is cool. We're gonna play out the Enel. This I feel like is just going to bait out the Gum Gum Giant. So we're really setting up to try pushing for lethal next turn, as long as they don't play out a blocker. Also, as long as at this point they don't hit us with a pudding. If they hit us with a pudding right here, we only run 2 of the 8 cost Kid. No, sorry, we run 3 of the 8 cost Kid, but it would be very unlikely that we see another one. So we The Gecko Moria, or the Hogback play, doesn't really matter. We're not necessarily worried about swinging with him on the following turn. It was more of a play to get 2 cards out of our hand. As I was talking about, like, we're trying to maintain the cards that we have right now. A pudding would really mess us up for what we've already established as the plan for the next turn. We really want to go drop the 8 cost kid, 6 Hogback, 6 leader, 9 kid, and then 12 with 10 cost Enel. So 2 cards out of hand for leader effect rather than 1, and we established like a body. Even if we have to attach Dawn to it, it wasn't the worst play around pudding. We do still have a really big hand though, so it's not ideal. When they drop this Luffy down, I am fine. My fat little hands accidentally denied playing the Kikinojo. I would have really liked to play that. That was a misclick. But as soon as they played the Luffy down, I was really confident that we were ending it this turn. We have this game. So as I said, we drop the kid. We swing 12 first. This is to just push another Gum Gum Giant out of hand. We have a bunch of cards in hand right now, so I don't feel like there's a problem. We go another 6. They only have the 2k and then a brick, so we would have gotten the Sanji 2k out of hand, and then we would have swung the kid, and we would have won. But as I was saying, I didn't feel a lot of pressure, even with them having 3 swings, 6, a 9, and a 10 without Dawn. We only needed to get out of one of them to be able to survive. Since we were at 1 life, which was technically 2 lives with the leader effect, we weren't dying that turn. So that's why I was a little not super worried about going up to 2 life. I was comfortable sitting at the 1. We have maybe not a ton of 2k counters in hand, but we have a good enough variety of counter in hand that we would not have died. But that's going to be the first off meta Monday video, guys. I'll go over the deck and some changes I might want to make here in a second, but thank you all for tuning in. Well guys, after playing Yellow Luffy the last couple of weeks and getting a handful of games in with Enel tonight, I am still a little weary about it in this meta, but I am looking forward to testing this build a little bit more and maybe shifting some ratios or trying out maybe 6 cost burn Nico Robin. I think those could be good additions, but that is a topic for another video. If you guys made it this far and you enjoyed, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and if you're feeling froggy, come and watch a stream sometime. Peace.